The first strange thing wasn't the message itself. It was the way my phone felt heavier in my hand after I read it, like gravity had shifted and chosen me. I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on cold tile, coffee going untouched on the counter. Outside, a lawn sprinkler clicked back and forth with mechanical patience. Inside, everything I thought I knew about my life tilted by a single degree. My name is Daniel Mercer. I was 38 then, married for 11 years, and, until that morning, I believed my life ran on predictable tracks. My wife, Elaine, and I had routines that felt sturdy. Tuesday pasta nights. Sunday grocery runs. The quiet shorthand of two people who no longer needed to fill silence with noise. I worked in logistics management, long hours but stable. Elaine taught part-time at a private school. We didn't fight much. We didn't laugh much either, but I told myself that was what maturity looked like. The message was from Dr. Rebecca Hale, my doctor. It simply said, "Daniel, I need to speak with you privately. Today if possible." I told myself it was about blood work. Or cholesterol. Or the way my heart had been racing lately, like it was trying to warn me about something my mind refused to name. I texted back that I could come by at noon. She replied almost instantly. "Thank you." Elaine walked in as I was slipping my phone into my pocket. She kissed my cheek, distracted, already halfway into her day. Her perfume lingered a second longer than usual. I noticed that, though I couldn't have said why. At the clinic, Rebecca didn't sit behind her desk. She closed the door instead. That alone unsettled me. She looked tired in a way I hadn't seen before, her composure slightly cracked, like a glass with a hairline fracture running through it. "This isn't medical," she said before I could ask. I felt my shoulders tense. "Then what is it?" She hesitated, and in that pause, something old and solid inside me began to crumble. "I didn't know how else to reach you." I laughed softly, reflexively. "You're scaring me." "I don't want to," she said. "But I won't lie to you either. Rebecca told me she'd seen Elaine 2 weeks earlier. Not as a patient. At a restaurant near the river. Elaine had been laughing the way she used to laugh with me years ago, leaning in across the table. Across from her was a man Rebecca knew intimately. Her husband. I opened my mouth to deny it, but no sound came out. "I thought I was mistaken," Rebecca continued. "I told myself it was coincidence. But then I saw them again. And again. The room felt too small. The walls too close. I wanted proof. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to be anywhere but there." "She doesn't know I'm telling you," Rebecca said. "And I know this crosses a line. But I couldn't carry it alone." I drove home in silence, my thoughts a tangled wire. Elaine's car wasn't in the driveway yet. I walked through the house slowly, noticing things I'd never questioned before. Her phone charger missing. The faint smell of a different cologne on her scarf draped over a chair. That night, as Elaine showered, her phone lit up on the nightstand. A name flashed on the screen. My hand hovered over it. My chest tightened. In that moment, I realized something I could never undo. I didn't trust my own life anymore. I didn't touch Elaine's phone that night. I stood there listening to the water run in the bathroom, watching the screen fade back to black. The letter R burned into my memory like a brand. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself marriages survived worse than suspicion. I told myself a lot of things that used to work. Sleep didn't come. Elaine slid into bed beside me, warm and familiar, her breathing slow and even within minutes. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, counting rotations, remembering earlier versions of us. Back when she used to reach for my hand in the dark. Back when silence felt companionable instead of crowded. The next morning, she hummed while making coffee. Too cheerful. Or maybe that was just how it sounded now that doubt had tuned my ears differently. She mentioned a faculty meeting that ran late the night before. I nodded, filed it away. I'd started doing that, collecting small moments like evidence, not sure yet what crime they belonged to. Over the following days, memories rearranged themselves. Times she'd been too tired for dinner but energized enough to scroll on her phone for hours. Weekend errands that took longer than they should have. A sudden interest in fitness, in new clothes, in a version of herself I realized I hadn't been invited into. One afternoon, I left work early under the excuse of a headache and drove past the private school where Elaine taught. Her car wasn't there. I sat in my vehicle longer than necessary, gripping the steering wheel, ashamed of myself and unable to stop. That night, while she slept, I went to the laundry room to look for a jacket. Her purse was on the counter. I didn't plan to open it. I swear I didn't. But the zipper was half open, like it had been waiting. Inside was a receipt. A restaurant near the river. The same one Rebecca had mentioned. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. A date circled in pen. My hand shook. I folded the receipt carefully and put it back exactly where it had been, like that might somehow rewind time. But the truth was already humming now, low and constant, vibrating through the walls of the house. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Something inside me wanted to understand the shape of the lie before breaking it open. So I started watching, listening, learning the rhythm of her deception. She took more calls outside, started locking her phone, changed her passwords. Each move felt like confirmation even without proof. I felt myself shrinking in her presence, becoming quieter, more cautious, like prey adapting to a new predator. A few days later, Rebecca called again. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to it twice. "I know this is difficult," she said softly, "but there's something you should see. Something I can't ignore anymore." We met at a small park, public but secluded enough to talk. She looked relieved when she saw me, then guilty. She handed me her phone. On the screen was a photo. Elaine, unmistakable, laughing, her hand resting on a man's arm. Intimate, familiar. The timestamp made my stomach drop. "I didn't take this to hurt you," Rebecca said. "I took it because I needed to know I wasn't imagining things." I nodded, unable to speak. The pieces locked together with a soundless click. As I handed the phone back, Rebecca hesitated. "Daniel," she said, "there's more. And when you're ready, we need to talk about it." I drove home slowly, the world outside muted, unreal. Elaine's car was already in the driveway. The house glowed warmly, invitingly. I sat there with the engine off, knowing the life I'd been living was already gone, and sensing that whatever came next would change me in ways I couldn't yet name. I followed the receipt. It felt almost absurd how small the clue was, how something that thin and forgettable could slice my life clean in two. The restaurant by the river sat quiet in the afternoon, sunlight skipping across the water like it didn't know how heavy my chest felt. I parked across the street and waited. I didn't know for what. I only knew I needed to see it with my own eyes. They arrived together. Elaine stepped out of his car, laughing, her hand lingering on the door as he leaned across to say something that made her tilt her head the way she used to when we were dating. There was no hesitation between them. No guilt in her posture. This wasn't a mistake. It was a routine. The man was older than me, confident in that easy, practiced way. I recognized him instantly from the framed photo on Rebecca's desk. Her husband. I took pictures. My hands were steady in a way that surprised me. Something had shifted. The fear had burned off, leaving clarity behind. That night, I didn't raise my voice. I set my phone on the table between Elaine and me and slid it toward her. She didn't touch it at first. She didn't have to. "How long?" I asked. She cried. Not immediately. First came denial, then blame, then the kind of tears that felt rehearsed. She said she'd been lonely. She said I'd been distant. She said it just happened. I listened until she ran out of words. When she asked how I found out, I told her the truth. About Rebecca. About the receipt. About the quiet way trust had eroded until there was nothing left to stand on. She packed a bag that night. 2 days later, I met Rebecca again. This time, she didn't look like a doctor delivering bad news. She looked like someone finally allowed to breathe. She told me she'd already started divorce proceedings. That she'd documented everything. Dates. Messages. Proof her husband could no longer twist away from. "I didn't come to you just to warn you," she said. "I came because I didn't want to be alone in it anymore." Then she made the offer. Not romance. Not revenge in the way people imagine it. She offered partnership. Strategy. Support. Two people who'd been betrayed choosing not to self-destruct. Choosing to stand upright instead. We shared information. Coordinated lawyers. Told the truth calmly, publicly, without embellishment. Elaine tried to rewrite the story. It didn't work. The facts didn't bend. In the end, the revenge wasn't loud. It was clean. I kept the house. I kept my peace. Elaine lost the version of herself she thought she could hide behind. Weeks later, I sat alone on the back porch at dusk, the air cool and honest. For the first time in years, silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt earned. If you're still listening, it means you've walked this road with me. Stories like this don't end when the shouting stops. They end when you learn how to stand again. If this journey meant something to you, support it. Like, subscribe, stay. Some storms don't destroy you. They drive your roots deeper. And when the wind finally dies, you realize the quiet was what you were searching for all along.